A classified US intelligence report came out showing that Vladimir Putin was treated for advanced cancer in recent months, as well as survived an assassination attempt. This story is just absolutely wild. If you're watching, I'm sure you can tell I'm not in my normal studio. I am going to be this entire week in a different kind of temporary place, but I'll be back in my studio next week. So let's just jump right into the meat of this story. Vladimir Putin's health is a subject of intense conversation inside the Biden administration after the intelligence community produced its fourth comprehensive assessment at the end of May. The classified US report says Putin seems to have reemerged after undergoing treatment in April for advanced cancer. 3 U.S. intelligence leaders who have read the reports tell Newsweek. So there we go. It's now confirmed. There were a lot of speculations about something's kind of off with Putin. And that was one of the things that people were assuming could be causing him to be so irrational in this current situation. There were press conferences where he was sweaty and looked just not well. And so now it looks like, based off U.S. intelligence, that's because he had cancer. And I don't know any more specific than what those intelligence leaders were able to reveal. So what advanced cancer means, how close is that to him being in a chronic situation? I'm not sure. But either way, to me, it makes it a lot more clear about why he's been so erratic, so irrational with this whole invasion. And by that, of course, I do mean invading is an irrational thing to do, but even the way in which he's gone about it, the fact that they weren't prepared like they should have been with their usually dominant military, and the way that he's been throwing threats around about nuclear war, all those things, while regardless if Putin tried to take land, it's going to be a horrible, irrational thing to do. The way that he's managed this particular situation has been even more erratic and even more out of character for Vladimir Putin. And so now knowing it might be because he knows he's about to die. And one of the things these types of leaders are obsessed with is feeling like they fulfilled some sort of legacy and left their mark. And for him, someone who's obsessed with Russia's rightful land and trying to bring Russia back to the dominance of the Soviet Union, it may have been like, oh, this is my last chance. I have to do it. I don't care what's going on. I just absolutely have to leave my mark because I'm going to die. So wild stuff. And then to add on top of that, the assessments also confirmed that there was an assassination attempt on Putin's life in March, the officials say. The high-ranking officials, who represent 3 separate intelligence agencies, are concerned that Putin is increasingly paranoid about his hold on power, a status that makes for a rocky and unpredictable course in Ukraine. So while all of this is very frightening, it does make it a little more clear why he's been acting the way that he has. Just think about this. Western intelligence officials believe Vladimir Putin could become medically incapacitated within 3 to 6 months, a former spy has claimed. So think about this as Putin. So you might be medically incapacitated, you might die from a medical situation, or you might be assassinated. All of that could happen super soon. You're going to be in a very panicked, irrational type of mindset. Now, of course, you and I, even if we were in that mindset, we wouldn't invade a country and try to murder a bunch of people. But from his distorted, delusional mind, now it makes a little bit more sense why this is all happening the way that it is. And it adds on to the scariness of all of this, because if he's not a rational actor, if he's not like other authoritarian leaders who are bad and harmful and all those things, but they do have some sort of rational thinking, at least just to keep themselves in power. If he doesn't have that, that's when we start getting at risk of nuclear war. That's why we see him doing all these war crimes in Ukraine. And that also could be why this all seems very unorganized. As has been said a lot, while of course Ukraine is suffering so much and all of this is unnecessary and there's all these lives being lost, within the confines of a war setting, Ukraine is doing an amazing job at defending themselves. Russia just undeniably, objectively has a more dominant military in any metric. But then because of Ukraine's strength as well as the support from the West, they're able to stand up to Russia's military, and Russia has not at all been able to follow through on the goals they likely had for this invasion. Now, of course, it's still going on every single day. Tons of disastrous events are happening. Lives are being lost. We can't lose sight of that, even though it's not being talked about as much. But I don't think many people predicted Ukraine was going to stand so strong and fight back so effectively against Russia and prevent them from pretty much conquering all of Ukraine. Like, that didn't happen. And a lot of people thought if Russia went for it, they would be able to conquer all of Ukraine relatively quickly, but they have not been able to do that. Just say what I think we're all kind of thinking. I hope Ukraine can keep standing strong until Putin does become medically incapacitated or whatever the situation is, wait him out, I guess is the point. Of course, y'all know I don't think the United States should assassinate another foreign leader. If he dies of cancer, I think we can all agree that's a good thing. And my prediction is if Putin was out of the picture and he was no longer the leader of Russia, it would be much harder to keep invading Ukraine, because it seemed like even among his own government, there was a lot of disagreement about this invasion, and oligarchs in Russia are getting upset with it. And so without Putin pushing so hard in the way that he has, you may see this whole war come to an end. I will say on the assassination attempt, I could not find any more details about specifically how that went down. I think a lot of this is still classified. A lot of it's still being hidden from the public, but we have been told by US intelligence officials that there was an assassination attempt on Putin's life. So now we have a little bit of answers about why Putin's been acting the way that he's been acting. We also have simultaneously hope and just absolute painful fear about what's to come. Because from the hope perspective, this former British intelligence person said that I don't see him being in power for more than 3 to 6 months from now. So that's hopeful. Wow, what if he's out of power and this all comes to an end? But then the fear side is, as he sees that coming, whether it's him feeling like he's going to get assassinated, him feeling like he's going to be so ill that he can't lead, or him thinking that he might die of that illness, of cancer, he might get even more erratic and just do absolutely everything because he feels like he has nothing to lose. So we're hopeful he might get out of power, but we're also afraid that that process of him knowing he's going to get out of power or be forced out of power or die might cause him to act even more violently and cause even larger disasters.